Crawl space, I can't crawl. Crawl space, I'm invading your space. Crawl space, I can't crawl.
Hey, it's Kral Space. I'm Kim Kral. I am reporting to you, not live in my closet. Oh man, it's been a couple of weeks. I'm a little nervous about this episode because I just still don't have a lot of energy. And I feel like I'm always like, yeah, like one week I didn't say hey, super excited, and I got like 3 DMs that were like, your opening hello was very not as enthusiastic. Is everything okay on your end? And I don't think I'll have. This will be the most I've probably talked in 3 weeks. 2 weeks. For those of you who don't know, I tested positive for COVID. I don't know. Friday the 13th is when I went and got tested. So the 14th, I came back positive. And it has put me, I was going to be really dramatic and be like, it has put me on my knees. But no, really, I have barely gotten out of bed in 2.5 weeks. I think it's been is that 2.5 weeks? That's 2 weeks ago. Okay, so like 2-ish weeks ago. I could spend this entire, like, COVID brain is fucking real, man. You hear that? Like, before I got COVID, I was, I've been reading a lot about it, obviously, and people kept talking about how they were flighty and foggy and just a little dingy and stupid. Yeah. Oh man. I can barely hold on to thoughts. I can't read anything. Like I can, but when you read something and you don't care about it and you'll read like 6 pages and you'll be like, fuck, I wasn't listening. Even though you were reading it, isn't that weird? Like you're not listening to your own reading. That's how everything is reading. What was I? And I can't really watch any new movies or TV because I can't concentrate. Like I rewatched this really, really bad show. God, I rewatched the entire series in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. In my defense, though, it was on all the time and I was sleeping through most of it. So like, it's not like I watched like 7 seasons of something when I had like a job and I wasn't super ill. Also, it's like short seasons. There's like 16 episodes. I don't know why I had COVID. Fuck off. I know before I went on my little COVID hiatus, I was looking into new recording stuff. And I think this is sounding good. Maybe I'll check it out. Hold on. I tested it, but I just don't have the energy to flip out at my computer right now. It sounds fine. Okay, that's good. Oh man. All right, so where does it begin? The last time I recorded it was the morning I was going on that lunch date. That was like 2 weeks ago, and I feel like I almost died in the last 2 weeks. Not really. I did go to the ER. I'll tell you all about that. Fucking A, Jesus Christ. The ER is a wild place. And also, apparently, if you write you have COVID and you can't breathe, they just move you away from all the people and make you wait 3.5 hours anyway. And apparently the golden ticket, and every adult knows this, I guess, you just write on your forms you have chest pain and you get in right away. And I'm like, oh, I had chest pain. I thought that was like, I just assumed that was, what is the word? I also can't think of words either. This is going to be I'm nervous to record this just because I don't want to fail. I hate failing. Yeah, I mean, nobody likes failing, I suppose. But, growing up, if you didn't do stuff perfectly, you were open to criticism, and criticism was awful from your mean parent, right? But here I am, I'm showing up, and I'm going to be on this. What am I saying? Oh, so I assumed it was implied. That's the word, implied, that I have COVID and I can't breathe. So more than likely, there's chest pain in it because that's one of the symptoms. But nope, an hour and a half after I got there, they came out and the woman like moved a chair away from everyone and was like, are you Kimberly? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, you need to sit all the way over here. I'm like, oh, I guess they read my chart. And then 2 hours later, I got in. The homeless dude who was asleep for the 3.5 hours I was there, so he was there longer than I was, he got in before I did. I'm like, what did he put on his fucking chart? But so, so this is like 2 weeks ago, the last time I recorded. 2.5 weeks ago? I don't fucking know, man. It was the 12th, or the 11th. But yeah, I had the lunch date. He dumped me. It feels like it was like 2 years ago, but yeah, he took me on a lunch date and lunch dumped me. fucking lunch dumped me. Like, I'm like, it was just really confusing. I'm like, this could have been a text message like 2 weeks ago. Like, why drag it out? Like, he dragged it out for like 2 weeks of like, yeah, I really want to see you. Yeah, definitely. Let's get drinks next week when I'm less busy. I'm real excited for lunch tomorrow. Like, I don't think he said I'm really excited for lunch tomorrow, but he used a lot of exclamation points. And I'm like, why not just text me? And then at the, like, we got to lunch, and then I'm just going to tell this part. And it was fine. Like, well, the night before, so I had a cold like the week prior, right? I had a cold that kind of put me on my ass, but then it was like clearing up. And I've now talked to doctors and friends that are in the medical field, and they're like, oh yeah, that's some of it too. Sometimes that happens, that it'll present as a cold, go away, and then come back with a vengeance. This virus is fun. It's real fun. All, like, one symptom will leave and then a new one will show up, and it's so fucking fun. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it'll present as a cold, then it'll go away, which it did. It sort of went away. Like, it was like the end of a cold, right? The night before the lunch dump date, oh man, I'm really disappointed that I got COVID, because the episode after I got dumped at lunch was going to be called Lunch Dumped. And then I was going to make fun of this guy for an hour, but now I just don't have the energy, nor do I care. And I think he was trying to be nice. Like, he's not a bad guy. I think he was just being honest. I'm so hot. But that's just normal crawl space stuff because I'm in my closet. Let's see here. So the night before, I was really tired, but like, I honestly, like, I don't know, man. Like, it's not this. But I thought that the virus would be like, oh fuck, you absolutely have this. But it was just kind of like lingering, and just kind of like, God, I just don't really feel all right. But I'm like, I had that cold. And the night before the date, I was cleaning my bathroom. And in hindsight, it was really hard to clean the bathroom. I mean, like at one point I was just like kind of laying on the bathroom floor, and I was like, oh, okay, just have like to clean the toilet, and then you just have to mop, and then you can go to bed. Like, it was like, in hindsight, it was a lot harder than it should have been. But I just thought, well, you're kind of working a lot. You got a lot going on. You know, you're working on yourself, you know, all that. You just got, you know, this pandemic going on. Like, you're just a little extra tired. That's in hindsight. But then I lit this candle that is like, will light up my whole apartment with vanilla smell. Like, it's like 3 prongs, wicks, 3 things that you light. I was gonna lie to you and say I only light one. No, I like how strong it is. I think it smells like a strip club, and I love it. I love it so much. But I lit it, and then after like a few minutes of doing something else, I was like, why can't I smell that? I couldn't smell it at all. And I was just like, that's weird. But my nose was so plugged up from the cold, as I thought. And I'm like, that's bad. And at this point, I was like, oh, I should probably cancel this date. But I was so excited, which is so sad now, because the guy dumped me at the end of it. So weird. We didn't even sleep together. It's just such an odd, like, just such, like, date. I also have just since decided that I'm not ready. Not because, like, this guy, like, broke my heart or anything. We'll get to it. Maybe we'll get to it. I don't know. Okay, and also I get fucking winded so easily. So, what am I saying? Oh yeah, so I couldn't smell the stripper candle, and I was like, fuck, that's weird. So then I like went to my litter box, and I was cleaning the litter box, and I couldn't smell the litter box, and I stuck my whole head in the litter box, like in it. Not like bury it in like a pie or something, you know, I didn't do that, but I like put my head in the box, and I couldn't smell anything. Not the litter, not the poop, nothing. And I was like, that's weird too. And then I went to a bottle of whiskey and put my whole nose in the bottle of whiskey, and I was like, that's real weird, not good. So I was like, yeah, I gotta cancel this date, because I think that's like the main COVID thing, right? Like, you can't, but like taste wasn't, I haven't had coffee since that morning. And, oh God, I hope I can get through this. I haven't had coffee since that morning, and I do remember vaguely it being kind of weird. Like the creamer like things taste different, and like spicy shit is like I used to, like, I worked at this Korean nightclub before the world ended, and the kitchen used to like to give me really hot shit because they thought it was funny that the white girl didn't think things were hot. I just have a really high spice tolerance. I used to work with this guy at another bar, and we would get this Mexican food, and I would like douse it in this hot sauce, and he would be sweating, and he's like Filipino or something, and he's like, how the fuck are you not? I was like, why are you so sweaty? He's like, how are you not? You're white. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, you're not. Aren't I supposed to be the sweaty one? But like spicy food, I'm really sensitive to it now. But like little things like that, so I didn't think much of it. And then I went to bed and was like, all right, well, if you're not feeling better tomorrow, and because you don't want to give this dude COVID, that would be if you have COVID, right? And I was like, we can't smell in the morning. So I woke up in the morning and I felt fine. And then like I could smell again, but not smell but like faint. Like, you know how like your nose is plugged, right? My nose, I was still like a little backed up, but that was like and this is me feeling so guilty. Spoiler alert, the guy didn't get COVID, thank God. Also, sidebar, a lot of people, including the nurse, made the joke that, well, if he dumped you, at least you gave him COVID. Way too many people made that joke. And I was like, no. I was terrified of giving anybody COVID. Once I found out I tested positive, like the guilt alone, I can't imagine the people that haven't taken this seriously, who've like killed people, how they feel. Like I've been taking it seriously, and I had to call just like my coworkers and that guy and a couple of people I sat with after work. Jesus Christ, we'll get to that. But like the sheer guilt, right? So, but I woke up and it just felt like I was a little tired, but like it just didn't feel like, oh my God, like it did not feel like the way I felt the last 2 weeks. It just was like, oh, the end of a cold, and I'm able to still breathe. So I get ready to go on this lunch date. In hindsight, it all makes sense. Why lunch? Second date? I just thought maybe he was just a normal, nice guy. I was like, I don't know how to date normally. So like now I'm just sort of letting people like take the reins and just seeing what happens. And so he picks the place, he picks me up, and I'm like, oh, this is great, and I'm really nervous. Like I'm so nervous. And the energy's kind of weird, and I can't tell why. I mean, I guess like it's always a little awkward, and he's like an awkward dude anyway, and I'm an awkward person. So like, and then like, the last time we saw each other, we got drunk and made out a bunch and talked about how we wanted to take this really slow. So who knows? I was just like, I chalked the energy up to just that. So we get to this place and we order. He doesn't take his sunglasses off the whole time. And it's like pulling teeth for conversation. Like, I like literally like at one point my brain goes, you don't have to date this guy, right? Like if this is how it is, he was so much better the first date. The first day he was like, I had so much fun, and he was funny and charming, and like we laughed, and like it was just easy. This time it was just like pulling teeth so bad that I actually said, he's a comedian, as you guys know, so bad that I actually said, what's your favorite place you've ever performed in the country? Like just like the worst forced small talk. Like it was just so bad. And then our food comes, and he eats his food in, no kidding, no fucking joke, 10 minutes. And it was like, oh, he's done. And I'm like, oh, you're done. And he goes, yeah. I just, it's fine. You take your time though. Like that's literally not, like take your time. You were telling a story. So like, it's fine. And I was talking up a mile fucking minute, because he was just sitting there just kind of smirking. Like in hindsight, he was kind of like smug and annoying the whole time. Like he thinks he's more famous. Well, he is more famous than I am, but like still, it was like it is a bullet dodge for sure. Like now that I'm able to like talk it out with you guys, you know what I'm saying. But like it was for the best. This guy is not the droid I'm looking for. But so then we get done with the thing, and we're walking out. It was so awkward. It was just so awkward. We're walking out, and what is he? He says something about, I'm like, oh, so when do you leave next? He's like, I leave tomorrow for the weekend. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, when do you come back? And he's like, next week. And he's like, for like a day. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so I guess I'll see you in like another 2 weeks. And he goes, yeah, that's kind of how it's going to be, actually. I was like, oh, okay. Like just super short, super weird. And then we get in the car, and and then he drives me home, and then we pull up to my place, and he's like, I'm going to get out and hug you. And I'm like, okay. It's so weird. Like, I'm like, I feel like we've already made out a ton. Why are you not kissing me or being at all affectionate? Now in hindsight, yes, he was going to dump me. That's why. So we get out, and he hugs me, and I'm thinking for lunch, and he's like, I'm going to be out of town for the next 2 months, pretty nonstop, except for like 5 days. And then the holidays. And God, this feels like 2 years ago at this point. Telling the story seems so irrelevant. But maybe some of you were waiting on the edge of your seat on how this lunch date went. And he was like, so, and then I'll be gone for another month for the holidays. So I'm going to put a pin in dating until next year. And I was like, okay. Like, it kind of blindsided me, and I was like, okay. And again, at this point, I had COVID. I didn't know I had COVID, but I was like, my brain was not all there. So I was just like, okay, what does that mean? And I meant, like, what does that mean? Like, do you expect me to just, like, hang out and wait until you're ready to date in January? Or, like, is this done here? Like, what does that mean? And he goes, it means I'm not going to date until next year. And I went, okay. And then he goes, sorry, darling. And then, like, walks away. And then that's it. I was just like, what the fuck? And I walk upstairs and I call some friends, and, you know, because they were all excited about my lunch date. And I was like, I think I just got dumped. But, like, am I wrong? Like, and like, this is weeks removed. I understand now that this guy is not the droid I'm looking for. That lunch alone and, like, the smugness and, like, the, like, I don't know, the whole thing is just not the type of person I want to be with in my life. But, like, why the theatrics? Like, why the fuck wouldn't he have just sent me a text 2 weeks ago, 2 days after the date, and just said, hey, look, look, I had a really good time with you the other night. I'm not available to date right now the way I thought I was. You're a great girl, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's a way to do it in a nice way that would have, I just felt like the lunch was sort of humiliating, right? Like, it was just like a pity, weird lunch. Also, like, we didn't date. We went on a date. We didn't even fuck. Like, if a lunch dump is for someone you've gone on a couple of dates with and at the least had sex with. Am I wrong? I don't know. It skeeved me out for, it didn't have a massive chance to skeeve me out because then I was getting progressively sick. So, like, I called my friend in my ACA program, my sponsor, and we were talking about it, and like, I had a healthy response to it, which, woo, yay, good for me, because I've done all this work this year. Because she was like, are you really upset? And, like, how do you feel? I'm like, honestly, I kind of think it's super weird. Like, and not that, like, why wouldn't he want to date me? Like, it's fine. It could be a full blow off. It could be the truth. He could have gone out with me, really liked me, and then stressed out for 2 weeks about no time, and then was trying to be a good guy. It was just weird. It was just fucking weird. But then, so I didn't have much time to really think about it because then I was just getting progressively sicker. So I, like, got off the phone with them, and then I'm just going to give you a timeline of the whole COVID thing. I don't know if anyone cares about this at all. I think you do. I actually, you know, we'll get to it. Take a deep breath with me. So I after I got off the phone, it was just like, okay, and my sponsor's like, do something nice for yourself, you know, because rejection sucks even if you're not like it's not like I was like in love and like planning our wedding. Like, we went on a date. I would be a crazy person if I was like, oh my God, I've already picked out our wedding color. So but she was like, rejection sucks. So, like, do something nice for yourself. You know, we have a thing called our happy list, where it's like something that, like, makes you happy. You know, like sitting on your porch and reading a book with a cup of tea. That sounds so lame, but for some reason it resets my brain. And I was like, yeah, I'll do something from my happy list. And I recommend you make one. It's anytime you're feeling shitty, you have this list that you just go to. And then eventually it just, like, becomes second nature that you just do it. This woman's amazing. But I couldn't do anything off the happy list. Like, it literally was just like, I'm just going to lay down. I'll just lay down. That's a nice thing to do. Oh, no, is this starting to run again? I did not know I could produce this much snot. Like, I got the cold on November 7th. I know all the dates. I only know all the dates is because I've been grilled for them by my job. The public health department called me. Like, so I'm pretty clear on all the dates. But, like, my nose has been running nonstop since November 7th. Like, I did not know I could produce this much fucking snot. It's doing it right now. And so, I think that's why I'm on steroids right now. What am I saying? So I was just like, I'll just lay down. That's self-care, right? Especially since I'm just, like, zonked. So I lay down, I sleep, I wake up the next day. I'm supposed to work at 5. I think it's 5. Yeah, I'm supposed to work at 5. And I can't get out of bed. Like, I'm like, all right, well, let's just nap. I don't know. And I was kind of freaked out that I was, like, having I was triggered by this dude not wanting to date me, and, like, it was depression, like, but I, like, couldn't feel sad about this guy. Like, I was like, am I just sad because I got rejected? And I'm like, not really. I mean, yeah, I guess you're a little disappointed, but, like, that'll go away in a day, right? And so, but I couldn't get out of bed. And so I finally get ready for work, and I go into work, and, like, I'm going to try my best to not, I'm grateful for this job. It's shut down right now. and I didn't work for 2 weeks, but there was some stuff that, I don't know, I walked in and I was just like, hey, I don't feel well still. I think I might have the virus. And the manager and the 2 bartenders were like, oh shit, really? And I was like, yeah. And at this point, my sense of smell went away again too. I woke up Thursday morning with no sense of smell again. And I was like, yeah, I feel like something's up. And they were like, oh, crazy. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to get tested tomorrow. And then the manager goes, cool. And then sends the other bartender home. And I'm like, oh, God. Like, truthfully, like, people are complaining about, oh, man, my closet's not all the way closed. People are complaining about these lockdowns. But now that I've worked in the restaurant industry in the middle of a pandemic, I kind of get why they're a little freaked out about the restaurants spreading the virus. I know I can only speak to where, I'm going to stick away from that. But I will say that it is really hard to monitor people, like customers keeping their masks on and following rules. And like, you don't know, like people coming with their people they don't know or people from other households. It's hard to like, you're basically playing teacher the whole day. Every shift was like, you don't know that table. Please don't sit with that table. You need to have a mask on. Where's your mask? You can't, like, grown people pretending their hand is a mask. Way too many people with their masks around their nose, and like a grown man that night actually had his mask around his nose, and I was like, dude, can you please cover your whole face? And he rolled his eyes at me and went, geez, fine. And I'm like, maybe I gave him COVID. That's not nice. Everyone from my job allegedly tested negative. I say allegedly just because I work with some people who have said some colorful things about how they feel about the virus. So I think sometimes people count on other people's test results. Like, oh, well, she's negative and I spend all my time with her, so I must be negative. And that simply isn't how it works, friends. I have done a lot of reading about this thing just because every time a new symptom comes up, I Google it to be like, is this COVID or is it my head or what the fuck is happening? So I worked for like 4 more hours, and and then and my period had just started too. So I thought like, honestly, I was just so wiped out because of my period and that cold. And I was just like, I'm probably just, fucked up. Just fucking get your buffalo chicken quesadilla and go home. And so, the guy from like episode, like 4 or 5 episodes ago that I said I had a crush on, God, I still have a crush on that guy. There's just something really endearing about that drunk man. I know I will not pursue it. Part of me does want to find him on Instagram just in case we don't start back work for another 6 months, or I don't work there anymore because, something happens. I don't know. No one knows. We're on lockdown. They're saying at least for 3 weeks. So part of me is like, should I just look him up and just be like, hey? But then I'm like, nah, it's creepy. Also, so he was there. And so I ordered my food when I got off work, and then I went and joined him. And, the good news is I went and joined him and I kept my mask on, and he had his mask on the whole time. So we were really safe. He has some job that he was just like, oh, I can't lose it by getting sick. So I'm really, really careful, which is so funny because I'm like, dude, you're kind of not really, really careful. You're at a bar right now, but cool. No judgment. I've been to a bar since COVID. I understand that we all need to do some level of self-care, and I didn't take my mask off. Because I find him attractive, and I was developing some cold stuff, like my nose is really red and chapped, and like the corners of my mouth are really red and chapped. So like I was like, oh, I don't want the first time this guy ever sees the bottom half of my face, just like a red chapped mess, which was like a fucking blessing in disguise because we just kept our masks on. And I was only there for like maybe 30 minutes, maybe 45. I was waiting for my food, and then this other guy showed up, and they started, how dudes are. There's a girl in the room. We gotta make her laugh, and if she's not laughing, we gotta keep going. And I'm a comedian, so I don't laugh at much. Like I don't like some stuff, man. Like I laugh all the time. Don't get me wrong, but you see comedy all the time. Your gauge is different, and like you don't out loud laugh sometimes. Sometimes you just go, "That's really funny," and you mean it. You genuinely mean that's really funny. But when you are around 2 dudes that are like trying to make the girl laugh, and all you say is "That's really funny," they just keep going. So I was there for probably 45 minutes. So then I walked to my car, and I had an appointment to get tested the next morning. So I went and got tested. I woke up, didn't feel good still, got tested, and then I went and got a flu shot because I was like, oh yeah, I got to get that flu shot just in case, right? So I went and got a flu shot, and I told the woman that I had a cold, and she's like, oh, as long as it's just a cold. And I was like, yeah, I think. And thank God. I mean, she had a mask and gloves on. It's just like, it's so scary because like I didn't feel like on my ass until like 2 days later or like 3 days later. And then I was out. So it's just scary. Like when I don't know, when I was most contagious is when I was just like kind of cool in the world. Right. And so then I got a bunch of like soup and was just like, okay, well, I don't work till Sunday. So I'm just gonna, and this is like Friday morning. So I'm like, I'm just gonna sleep for 2 days and hopefully this fucking thing goes away. And then Saturday night at 9 p.m., I got the test results and it was positive. And I was like, and I worked the next day at noon and I'm like, fuck, I don't know how to describe to you getting that message felt. I stared at it for a really long time. Reread it thinking that maybe it was like it was just like a different kind of negative result, like maybe they just like weirdly worded it. And then I'm like, all right, well, I can't go to work tomorrow, so I better start making phone calls. And then of course I'm like, fuck, now I gotta call that guy that fucking dumped me. It's like the worst STD ever. You know what I mean? Like we didn't even get to have sex. I'm glad we didn't have sex. I do not believe it would have been enjoyable. No offense, guy, if you're listening to this. I mean, you didn't want to date me for a reason either. There wasn't chemistry. I don't think he's listening to this. What am I saying? Yeah, so I was like, fuck. And then the previous Monday, I had gotten off work like really early, and there's 3 people that I hang out with sometimes when I get off on Mondays early because they're there and they're awesome. They're just like a guy I used to bartend with years ago, his girlfriend and his best friend. And they're just really nice. And so I sat with them. I didn't eat any of their food, thank God. They were like, eat some food. And I was like, I'm not really that hungry. But I sat with them, so I knew I had to call them too. So I called my boss. And they, he asked me to get another test, and which I again don't really want to get into that whole thing. I'd like to just keep my opinions to myself for now on that, just because. Well, I don't need to explain myself, I suppose. Jesus, I'm doing it though. Look at this. We've been recording for like 30 minutes, and I feel. Well, I'm gonna probably eat some soup and go to sleep after this, but this was like the goal today was to record this, and I'm really proud of myself. And the cough, I haven't really had a cough. Like that, what you just heard, I'll have a cough if I start laughing, or just like a little one, not anything that other people have described. So I called my boss, and it was just like, well, obviously you're not working tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, I probably am not going to work any of my shifts the rest of the, for 2 weeks. I got to go on quarantine. And so then, Sunday I woke up and I told some people, and I weirdly wanted to keep it really close to the chest at first. Like, it was just like, I don't know, there was a little bit of shame there that I got this, just because I've been so judgmental of people who aren't wearing masks or being safe. And I've been really safe. And I got it. So it goes to show you just how rampant this thing is. And like a lot of questions I've been getting, I have a list of questions that people sent me I'm going to answer. A lot of questions are, where did you get it? And sadly, the only place I can think is the restaurant. But I did have the commercial I shot 3 days before I got sick, and I did a rapid test. And that came back negative, but there was, that I was around not a lot of people. I was around like 10 people. They were all rapid tested too. And the makeup artist, I asked her a question about, just like the regularities, her regulations that she had to learn and change or whatever now with COVID and being COVID safe. And she's like, honestly, it's all the same as it was before. And like that seemed weird, and I was like, really? There's not extra stuff? She goes, well, you just have to keep your kit clean. And so like I'm like, I could have, maybe because I know several makeup artists, and none of them have described their job now like that at all. Like there's like shit you got to do, like a lot of shit, because you're literally touching someone's face with stuff like you can't reuse, whatever. So it could have been her, it could have been the restaurant, it could have been me going to the store to go grocery shop 3 days later. Like it's such an ambiguous thing. And it's running so rampant in Los Angeles that it's virtually impossible to know where I got it from. Like right now they're saying 1 in every 145 people in Los Angeles person. I'm going to say that so wrong. So every 145 people, one person in that group has COVID. That's crazy. That's why we're on lockdown. But so like it's a lot of people were like, where'd you get it? And it's like, honestly, it's, which is really, really fucking scary, There wasn't like, I wasn't around anybody that was like, hey, the girl I work with, she was really nice about it, because I was telling her how guilty I felt, and she was just like, girl, it literally could have been any one of us. Literally any one of us could have gotten it. So like, don't. So that was nice. But I did feel like weirdly shameful about it at first. And I guess I still have a little bit of that. I know it's not my fault. We're in a pandemic where 6 million people have died from it. I actually don't know how many people have died from it. How many people have it? A lot of fucking people have it and died from it. I know how many people in this country have died from it, because I took to tweeting that to Donald Trump for a couple of weeks every time he tweeted just the exact number of deaths. Now I send him, oh man, this isn't even the poop scoop, but if you don't know about this, go to Twitter and go to the hashtag #DiaperDawn. It has been a true highlight of getting COVID. A true highlight. Apparently the man has done so many drugs in his life that he's lost all control of his sphincter and just shits his pants constantly. And like the apprentice, like he'd just yell and then poop his pants, and then there's someone that has to wipe him up and like clean him like a baby. That's the president of the United States, who's now lost further to Joe Biden by spending millions, and then the ballots are like, oh, we found 132 more ballots. What if a diaper Dawn, dude? So fucking great. But so I had a lot of shame about it. And then I contacted the 3 people that I hung out with unmasked at the restaurant I work at. And they were really sweet about it. I mean, it's not like I like knew I had COVID. And like at that point, my cold was almost gone. And they were like, they were just like, how are you? They've checked in on me. They're like, they're all clean. It's the worst STD ever. And then I text the comedian, the lunch dump. I text him, and he actually was nice about it. I mean, he's a nice guy. The whole lunch dump thing was just super weird. Again, it could have just been a text. We didn't have some epic love. It's so weird. Like I'll never not look at him weirdly again. It's like, I don't know. It's sort of like an ego. Like, get over yourself, dude. I'm fine. You could have sent me that text and not the theater. Okay, whatever. I haven't really talked about it much in the last couple of weeks just because, well, you know. So, I text him. He was really nice, obviously. He was just like, thank you so much for letting me know. I'll get tested. And then he came back negative. He texted me and he was like, feel better. I'm negative, blah, blah, blah. And then something really, and I think before I'm going to get into the I'm one lucky broad. Obviously, my I'm one lucky broad is always about the humans in my life. And that's good, right? One thing I really learned in this whole incident, a couple of things I learned. The night I saw the positive results, I don't think I finished that. I went through a lot of emotions. I cried really hard. Because it's fucking scary. This thing has killed a lot of people. And I cried, and then it also something amazing happened that I know I've shared a lot about how I wanted to take my own life a couple of years ago. Some years back, I don't remember how many years, 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, I would have been like, sweet, this thing will do it, and now I want to live, and this thing is like really taught me, like, I would give anything right now to feel normal, anything. Most of my symptoms are gone except for the runny nose. I'm very tired. I'm really winded, but like above all, I feel off. Like something in me doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. Like I just feel off, and I would give anything to go back to feeling, which just makes me want to work harder and be better and keep working on myself and keep working on my goals and dreams and, working on these wonderful relationships I have. And it just makes me want to continue to better myself. Cause I lived through this thing. I mean, knock on wood, let's knock on wood. This thing didn't take me out, I mean, God, that's so scary to say. I don't want to say it just because Herman Cain, I think, died like a month after he was tested positive and he was fine. So just so fucking scary, right? But I'm one lucky broad that I told people, and people just showed up for me, in ways that I can't even describe. I mean, I'm going to right now describe them. My 3 of my best friends, I talk about them. They're my tribe, right? They sent me flowers. Flowers. Like, just, I mean, like, who would have thought that flowers is it was just like such a lovely gesture just to know that I was like thought of and loved. And then they sent me this care package with like all of the junk food in it. I'm starting to feel a little better and have a little bit of appetite, so I have been able to eat some of it now, which has been kind of exciting. And they've checked in on me every day. A lot of people have. My buddy Alex asked if he could do anything, and I've been working really hard to make sure I like shower every day and clean out my cat's litter box, and try to like not let my apartment just like go completely to shit. Like, if you're sick for 3 weeks, like, it's very easy for your apartment, especially when you live alone, to just like go into a disaster. But I know for my own mental capacity, I couldn't allow that. So even if it was like 10 minutes a day of just like just cleaning out the litter. But then I couldn't take out the trash. Like, for A, I can't leave. I don't want to leave my apartment and like infect anyone. And B, I have a lot of stairs. It's heavy. So my buddy Alex offered to do anything for me, and I was like, yeah, can you come over and take out my trash? And he did. I was like, one bag is just like trash, and the other bag is full of poop. Not my poop. It's not my poop. And my cousin goes, why'd you have to even tell him it was poop? And I'm like, well, the poop has the consistency of 2 human heads. Now, I'd prefer him to know that I know that he knows that it's poop, or make sure that he knows that it's poop and not 2 human heads. I plot a lot of murders. A lot of people think I'm one day going to go down for murder, and that's how I end in this life. I don't know. I can't speak to that, if that's true or false. I feel like we're all capable of murder. I think you just have to have the right buttons pushed. You know what I mean? But he came and took out my trash, a bag full of poop. I have at least 6 people a day who text me to say, hey, I'm out running errands. Can I get you anything? Please don't hesitate. My friend Romy got me this great wonton soup the first night I tested positive, dropped it off with like coloring books and a bunch of wine. I haven't drank the wine. I haven't drank since the election night, I don't think. Well, the night that Biden won. I had COVID. I thought it was just a cold, and I wanted to celebrate, but I knew I couldn't leave the house because of my cold. And I was like, if you got this cold, you probably shouldn't, God, that feels like 6 years ago. You probably, just in case. And you also don't want to be all snotting in the street when everyone's celebrating. And they're like, that bitch has COVID. I did not know at the time. But I made myself a hot toddy. But Romy sent me a bunch of wine. It was just, my cousin Maggie and I, she has always been someone I look up to and admire a ton and love her, and we're close. I officiated her and her husband's wedding, which is honestly one of the biggest honors of my entire life. That she asked me to do that it went well. She had texted me. I can't remember. I think she texted me the next day after I tested positive, just something random, and I was like, haha, I have COVID. She's like, what? And she has been like an anchor through this whole thing. She was like, just so you have someone to check in every day. We've talked every night at 8. She sent me groceries with soup and just electrolytes, some waffles. She just sent me like a couple bags of groceries just to make sure it's just like, I'm one lucky broad. Like, I always talk about how lucky I am with like the humans in my life that I'm surrounded by. And this just really like solidified it. And what's even more wild is that I'm so grateful that I have my ACA program, because if I would have gotten COVID prior to this, I don't think I would have handled it as well. I wouldn't have leaned into all the love. Prior to working on myself, healthy love made me feel very uneasy. I'm not going to lie, it still makes me a little uneasy, but I leaned into it. I leaned into the love. I accepted the love. I thanked people. I said no thank you to the groceries to my cousin Maggie, because I was like, no, she doesn't have to do that. I'll be fine. And then we were on the phone one night, and I was just like, I'm going to get some chicken noodle soup or something tomorrow. I'm gonna my buddy Whitney's gonna get me something, so I'm gonna ask him to do that. Or Whitney went and got my prescriptions and Henry's prescriptions, which is really nice. But I was gonna ask him to get soup, and my cousin Maggie was like, well, let me do that. Can I do that? Please let me get the soup. And like, I realized that like people want to help. Like people, especially this virus has, I have said it probably 60 billion times in this podcast, but like this virus has killed a lot of people. And so I think people want to help because they see, you know, it's a helpless feeling. I feel like, I mean, I'm here, I'm closest to it, and it's helpless. The only thing I can do really is rest. And I know before ACA, I wouldn't have rested as much. I have my dad's voice in my head that's like, you know, at one point it's mind over matter. Like the other day I said that to myself. I was like, you need to just like get up and get out and just like start living your life again. And thank God I have a friend, Marcus, who called me, and he has lost a few people to this virus, and he has had a few more people have long-term medical issues. And one of the women that he knows that has a long-term medical issue because of COVID did the same thing that I was about to do, which is like just like push myself. And now she has a pacemaker in her heart. Healthy 40-year-old woman, pacemaker, because she thought she could get out. She tested negative, so she started working again. And so like I have people in my life that are giving me love, tough love. I have a friend, Nicole, that I was like, yeah, let's go on a walk. And she goes, yeah, girl, you're not doing that for a month. So like she's like, I'm going to play, you know, your Jewish mom. Like, I'm going to fucking tell you, you need to lay down for a month. Like this thing is not, she's like, my mom's a doctor, and this thing is not going to go away for a long time, and you don't want long-term effects. So it's like, I'm one lucky broad that I have just these humans in my life that like, I don't know, really, really showed up. And that the fact that I took care of myself. I went to the ER too last week. That's wild. Because before ACA, dude, I almost went blind once because I was just like, my eye hurts, I won't go to the doctor. And then I finally did when I couldn't see. And the doctor was like, if you would have waited another day, you would have gone blind. And then when I broke my arm, I grew up in a walk it off family. You know what I mean? Like, walk it off. You'll be fine. Walk it off. I broke my thumb in elementary or in junior high school. My dad just told me that I made it up and to go do my homework. So now my thumb pops and hurts if I hold it in one spot too long. So I grew up in that household that's like, walk it off. And before ACA, I fucking walked everything off. And now I had, my old sponsor was just like, you could die. And so last Wednesday, Tuesday day, I was having a hard time breathing. I still kind of am, but I'm on meds, so we'll see. But I was having a hard time breathing, and I was really, really winded. Like, I felt like, after you've held your breath for a really long time and then you start to breathe again, that's how I felt all the time, but not doing anything except for just sitting on my couch. And so that was a little troublesome. And then I went to bed, and then I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning gasping for air, like literally like trying to breathe. And I was like, oh no. So I have a friend who's in the medical field who had texted me prior to check in and then told me if I needed to go to the ER to definitely go. Don't worry about overcrowding. Go. So I messaged her and was like, these are the things that are happening. And then I'm like, oh, sorry. It's like 3 a.m. Like, it's 3 a.m. And then I went back to bed, and then I slept until like noon or something like that. And she had gotten my phone number from a friend, and she was like, hey, your message really scared me. I'm going to make a case for you to go to the ER immediately today. And she did. She was right. She was like, it's better to go now while you feel kind of bad than and they can send you home with like an inhaler. They didn't give me an inhaler, but they can send you home with meds and help and talk to a doctor instead of when it becomes an emergency and then they have to use an ER bed on you, which is what is overwhelming the hospitals. So it's better to go now. So I was like, okay. So I go to the ER. Everything's outside. And like the amount of people that just like this poor security guard, the check-in guy was just like, you can't wait with your person. You gotta go. Only the patients can be here. And the amount of people that kept trying to sneak back in, like, Jesus Christ. Oh, it was one of the most. And anytime someone got close to me, I wanted to just be like, I have COVID. Please get the fuck away from me. Get the fuck, like, why are we all not? Wow, that really is taking a lot out of me, the yelling. But I just don't understand why no one is more. Like, people are just so oblivious. Like, and I had COVID, or I have COVID. I don't really know. I'm going to get tested tomorrow just so I can walk around outside. I would like a negative test so I could do my laundry, which that'll take probably all day. But do you know what? Like, but I feel more peace of mind if I have a negative test. More than likely, my 2 weeks of quarantine was up on Thanksgiving. So more than likely, I'm fine. But I'm going to get a test tomorrow just for peace of mind. And so I don't feel like I'm just like infecting. I'm like a super spreader event. Just kidding. That's probably, laundry is not a super spreader. I'm not, that's not funny. I apologize. COVID brain is real. So I'm waiting and, oh God, oh man, I'm trying to like, so this, like, just the sketchiest characters. So like this one guy is like a grown man, a grown fucking man, is like pouting and yelling because he wants to get in and like people are going before him. Now, apparently, if you put chest pain, like I said, they'll put you back there right away. If you say you have COVID and you can't breathe, they just move you to the corner away from everybody. So annoying. But he starts screaming, I have chest pain, I have chest pain. And then the female security guard goes, she's alone at this point. Very important for the story that she's female. She goes, does your chart say, did you write that down? And he goes, yeah. She goes, so if I go find your chart and it doesn't say you have chest pain, that's why they're not calling you back there. And he's like, you calling me a liar? She's like, I'm just saying that chest pain gets you back there. And if you actually wrote that, you'd probably be back there. You wouldn't be waiting this long. And he's like, I have chest pain, screaming, I have chest pain. And I'm like, oh God, I don't have the energy. Like at this point, I'm literally just trying to breathe. Like every ounce of me is just like concentrating on breathing slowly, not panicking myself to make the breathing worse. And I'm like, I can't deal with this. And he's getting closer to me. He's looking at me. He's looking at everybody. He's yelling. And then the woman leaves. And then out comes a man. And then the dude's demeanor completely changes. I'm like, oh, you're not going to scream, I have chest pain, at this male security guard? He like sat down and just pouted until they called him back there. I don't know what happened to him. I never saw him again. And then another woman was there a long time and she looked really upset. And then the female security guard comes back and she's like, the woman that was there a long time with me, she goes, that girl's been here a long time too. And I'm like, yeah, I have. And she goes, yeah, we're trying to help you. And I'm like, well, you know, I have COVID because you moved me. She goes, yeah, we know you have COVID. That's why you're over there. And everyone in the emergency room looks at me and I'm like, yeah, I heard, like, everybody has COVID in Los Angeles right now. I'm so much shame around it. And so finally I get called back there. And it's like one big room with like 3 nurses and they are only taking one patient at a time. And apparently one of the big things that was taking so long with mine is that they would do the vitals or they would take, you know, like your heartbeat or whatever and your blood pressure. Is that just vitals? I don't fucking know. And ask you some questions in this one room. But then since I have COVID, I couldn't share a room with anybody else. They had to wait until a full room opened up. So that was one of the big things. Also, they didn't know I had chest pain. I guess life hack, if you go to the ER. I don't know, when I went for kidney stones a couple years ago, I didn't write chest pain. I was like, I'm pretty positive my appendix is going to explode. So I think that got me in there pretty quickly because if you've ever had a kidney stone, you're pretty positive something inside your body's about to explode. I was in so much pain, I was puking. I don't know why I'm laughing at that now. That was a fun trip. I will tell that story. I'll write that down to tell that story next week. Because I'm back. I'm going to... can't talk for that long. This is the longest I've talked in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to have to sign off pretty soon. But yeah, then the security guard woman comes up to me and is just like, wait, what? Oh yeah, she comes up to me and she's like, we're going to get you in there soon, honey. And I was like, thank you. And she then starts to she's like, you just have to like fight it. Like it just has to be like mind over matter, like that kind of fucking thing. She's like, you just need to bundle up and you need to just like, you know, just like force your body to heal. And I'm trying to listen to her, but I'm like, I literally can't breathe, lady. I can't. And I did one of the rudest things I've ever done in my life. I just like stopped listening to her and just like turned my back and just looked down because I was like, I don't have the energy to be like, I can't fucking breathe. Please stop talking to me. You're not a medical expert. Leave me alone. It's just like that guy telling me to use Vicks Vapor Rub. Like, what the fuck? Get away from me. But I didn't have any of that energy because I couldn't fucking breathe. So I was just like, just breathe, which sounds way scarier now than now in hindsight. I mean, it was definitely scary back then, but a week ago back then, but then they did a chest x-ray and they said it was just, they were like, everything is really healthy except for you have COVID and we're going to give you some steroids and an antibiotic. Just to like one of the big things is, stopping pneumonia. That's a big thing that's killing people is pneumonia, I guess. And overactive immune system, like your immune system kicks into overdrive. Steroids are not fun. I do not like them. I have never been more exhausted and not being able to sleep in my whole life. So like the last few days, I've just been like, went to bed at 5 a.m. and then woke up at 7 a.m. and then sat on the couch for 2 hours and then slept for 3 and then woke up. Like, I mean, it's just been, so I'm just trying to be really nice to myself because this is just, I mean, this thing has taken out a lot of people and my only job right now is to get better. I guess the cough is still kind of there. It just never was really like prominent. So like I didn't even, and I just feel off and tired. The poop scoop, I have not pooped. I've pooped 3 times. 3. Both times I had to drink like a half a gallon of fucking prune juice. And then it went from just like not pooping for 3 days to just like shitting my pants in my own apartment. That's not even that funny. The diaper Dawn thing is much funnier. But I refuse to include that monster in one of my segments, except for Diaper Dawn is amazing and it is a gift that keeps on giving. You're welcome. Google it. It is just like the Christmas miracle we all needed. The President of the United States. And before you come at me and you're like, that's fake news, fuck off. Don't take this away from me. Also, I'm really bad at reading my DMs, so I probably won't see it for another 2 months. Yeah, so, what am I saying? Yeah, this thing sucks, dude. Don't get it. Don't be responsible for giving it to someone else. I'm going to read the questions real quick. Oh, yeah, and also, can I just say, the public bathrooms, like, do we not know how... I'm only thinking about this because I had to pee in a cup at the hospital, and then I also had to pee when I got there. I was there like 3.5 hours, so I had to pee a couple of times, and like what? Like why is this? How are this many people not able to hit the toilet? Like what the actual fuck? Why does it smell like a dead body? Like what does your homes look like? Like I was so angry at the ER because I was just like, God, and then there's no more toilet seat covers because you fucking degenerates. Who knows what you're doing with those? So like you're like gonna pee your pants, you don't feel well, all you want to do is sit down, you can't breathe, and you have to slowly take the thinnest toilet paper of all time and cover the toilet seat, so you have to do at least 3. It's just so ridiculous. Like, get it together. Just like, I don't know why people have to be told this, but like, clean up after yourselves, you fucking monsters. Sorry, that was a little bit of a rant. See, also, I think road rage is real. I've been getting real angry. But road rage is real because I think I like irrationally angry. I couldn't get the Bronco game on Sunday because I wanted to see the whole no quarterback fiasco, and I almost threw my computer out the window. And then I was like, I'll throw the TV out. It's older. Like I was like, I think it's real. So sorry about the toilet rant. The girl who... I can't even, like, honestly, people that say that shit, like, I mute them now. It's like, and if it's not, like, if it's someone deleting them will cause more drama than it's worth, then I mute them. But most people I'll just delete. Like, the pandemic people, fuck off. I literally haven't been able to get out of bed for 3 weeks. Like, 2 weeks? It's most of, my November is gone. And I'm hoping to salvage at least some of December. All right, well, here are the questions. I hope this episode makes some kind of sense. Oh, the first one isn't a question. It was really nice. It's from my friend Logan. I won't read everybody's name, but this was just a really nice. I just wanted to know if you're doing okay. I just want to. Oh God, this is gonna be rough. I can't read, you guys. Like everything's kind of blurry. I just want to know if you're doing okay. Is all. Oh, feel better. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm gonna be okay. Recovery of this thing, I guess, is really long. And I am taking it very easy. Very, very easy. Did your poop change? No, I mean, I just didn't poop. There was one day I pooped and it was like light color, and that was interesting. I was like, that's lighter than I've ever pooped before. But then you're so tired that you just don't care and you lay down. Yeah, I had a friend who was like, you really should be vlogging this every day. You should be getting up and vlogging it. And I know her intentions were, they were, from like, oh, this will probably get you some more listeners and more, God, I can't even think, audience members, you know what I mean? Followers? I don't know. But I was, and her heart was in the right place, but I was like, girl, like it's taken everything I have to get out of bed and go to the bathroom for a couple of weeks. Like getting up and like talking for a couple of minutes on how I feel, like, just like if you get this, just take care of yourself. That's all. Did you have a fever? Well, that's a hard question. I think I did. I felt like I had a fever. I took my temperature on a thermometer that told me I had the same temperature every day, even though I did not feel like I did. And then it was pointed out that I've been using the same thermometer that I have been using since the 90s. So I got a new thermometer, but I think I did, when you're hot, sweaty. Yeah. When I went to, it was 99. That's like on the high end, but it's not a fever, but I probably had a fever. No, but truthfully, I hate lying. So like, I'm not lying right now, but like, I never saw a fever, but I felt a fever. Did you lose sense of taste and smell? Already answered that. What was the first symptom that got you concerned? Oh, the smell thing. The smell thing, and then not being able to get out of bed. Like being like, fuck, I'm like down for the fucking count. Can you do my podcast tomorrow? I will be doing that podcast next week. Can you still taste? Yeah. I mean, I haven't eaten anything really except for chicken noodle soup and crackers and banana and an avocado. Those are like the 5 things I've eaten in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, the spicy stuff that I've tried to put sriracha on stuff, and it's like overwhelmingly hot, which sriracha is something I could eat by the spoonful. Yeah, so I guess time will tell. I don't know. Thank you for all the love. I really appreciate it. I don't think I will ever be able to express what this has meant to me. All the people that have reached out and all the love I have in my life. I really don't. I'm one lucky broad, dude. And I'm really grateful to be here. I'm grateful that it's mild. It doesn't feel mild, but I'm not on a respirator or an ER or a morgue, so it's mild. I'm grateful that I went to the hospital when I thought I needed to. That gave me some peace of mind. I'm grateful that today is the last day I have to take these it's a high dose of steroids. And I'm grateful that apparently though, the side effects will last 2 to 8 weeks. What the fuck is that? 2 to 8 weeks. So I don't know. There was a Zoom today and I was sleeping through most of it, and then I woke up and I was just really irritable, and I was like, yeah, maybe I ought to stay away from some people for a couple of days. Not for anything other than just like I'm irrationally angry about very dumb things right now. I think that's the steroids, or it might just be, honestly, it's a little demoralizing to not be able to get out of bed for a couple of weeks. It's really, really demoralizing. I'm happy I have people in my life that are there to raise my spirits. If I didn't, I don't know how I would have gotten through this. And my booty bear, and Lucy too. Lucy's been very sweet. What am I saying? I think I'm trying to wrap this up. But thank you for all the love. I'm so happy I finally got to do this. I was nervous. I thought that I wasn't going to be able to bring the energy or the regular crawl space stuff. And I don't know if I did, but this is what the show is. It's just honesty and my rawness. So here it is. Rawness. Yuck. That always reminds me of raw dog and yuck. I don't know why I would end it like that. Why? I just sometimes say everything that comes to my brain. Yeah, this comes out. This is Tuesday. I decided that when I had a moment where I felt okay to do it, because tomorrow morning may be different. That's what happened last week. Tuesday, I started to kind of feel okay. And then I got really, really winded, and then I went to the ER. So at least we'll get this out. Who knows what will happen tomorrow. This could be the last you ever hear from me. That is so dark. I am fine. I am recovering. I'm just really tired. And yeah, follow me on everything. I'm in Instagram jail right now. It's a long story. It's just basically if you like more than 200 photos in an hour, they think you're a robot and they suspend your account for a week. And, well, I have nothing to do. So I just went on a big liking spree. And I followed a few too many accounts, and then I realized some of them were racist, so then I unfollowed a bunch of accounts. It was just a really active hour that has landed me in Instagram jail. So, but I will be back in 1 week with that. 1 week from now. KYMKRAL. Sending you all love. Please wear a mask. Please be kind. Just take this thing seriously. You don't want to get it. You don't want to be responsible for giving it to someone. Not everyone is mild. Not everyone. Yeah, it's just be fucking kind and do your part, man. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I will talk to you next week. Bye.